Right now, you are more connected than any human who has ever lived. A device in your pocket holds 1,000 faces. A message reaches the other side of the planet in less than a second. You could speak to almost anyone alive tonight if you wanted to. And yet, something in you feels far away. From what, you can't quite say. You scroll past people laughing, hugging, gathering, and a quiet ache moves through your chest like a draft under a door. You call it loneliness. You treat it like a flaw, a thing to hide, to fix, to be ashamed of. But the real answer is far stranger. Loneliness was never a flaw. It is one of the oldest survival tools your body owns. And a single, disturbing experiment revealed just how deep it goes. Let me start there. In the 1950s, a psychologist named Harry Harlow ran a series of studies at the University of Wisconsin. He worked with infant rhesus monkeys, and he asked a question that sounds almost too simple to test. Why does a baby love its mother? The science of his day had an answer, and it was cold. Love, they said, was just plumbing. A baby bonds with its mother because she is a food source. Milk, calories, nothing more. Attachment was treated as a side effect of the stomach. Harlow didn't believe it, so he built two fake mothers. One was made of bare wire. It held a bottle of milk. The other was wrapped in soft cloth, warm to the touch, but it offered no food at all. Then he watched. The baby monkeys drank from the wire mother when they were hungry. But the moment they were full, the moment they were frightened, the moment the lights changed or a strange sound came, they ran. Not to the food, to the cloth. They clung to the soft, empty mother for up to 18 hours a day. They chose comfort over calories. They chose contact over survival's simplest fuel. Harlow added a test to be sure. He would place a strange, frightening object into the cage, a mechanical toy that banged and lurched. The terrified infants did not run to the mother who fed them. They flung themselves onto the cloth. They pressed into her softness until the fear passed, and only then, steadied, would they turn to face the world again. What does that tell you? It tells you that the need to be held is not a luxury sitting on top of your biology. It sits underneath it. It is load-bearing. But Harlow went further, and this is where it becomes hard to read. He began to raise some monkeys in total isolation. No mother, real or fake. No siblings, no touch. Just a small chamber and the passing of time. He kept them there for months. In some cases, far longer. When those monkeys were finally brought back into the world, they were not simply shy. They were broken in a way that startled even the researchers who designed the study. They rocked. They clutched themselves. They could not play, could not mate, could not sit peacefully beside another living thing. Some refused food. The damage, in many cases, never fully healed. It was cruel work. Modern ethics would never allow it, and many who study it now do so with real discomfort. But it revealed something we could not unsee. A mind deprived of connection does not simply feel sad. It comes apart. Connection, it turns out, is not the reward for being alive. It is part of the machinery that keeps you alive at all. So why does the absence of it hurt so much? Why does a snub, a silence, an empty chair land in your body like a wound? In 2003, a neuroscientist named Naomi Eisenberger decided to look directly at your brain while it was being left out. She placed people inside a scanner and had them play a simple online ball-tossing game with two other players. What they didn't know was that the other players weren't real. Partway through, the game was rigged. The two players stopped throwing the ball to the participant and only threw it to each other. That's it, a trivial rejection. A cartoon ball on a screen no longer coming your way. But inside the scanner, something lit up. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, a region of the brain that flares when you feel physical pain. Read that again. Being excluded from a meaningless game activated the same alarm your body uses for a broken bone. Your brain, it seems, does not draw a clean line between a wound to the body and a wound to the bond. To the oldest parts of you, they are the same emergency. Social pain is real pain, running on borrowed wiring. Now ask yourself why evolution would ever build a creature that hurts like that. A researcher named John Cacioppo spent his life on that exact question. He founded an entire field to answer it, and his conclusion flips everything you thought loneliness was. Loneliness, he argued, is not a defect. It is a signal. It works exactly like hunger. Think about what hunger really is. Hunger is not the problem. Hunger is the messenger. It's an unpleasant feeling your body invented to make sure you don't forget to eat. The discomfort is the point. Without it, you'd starve while distracted. Cacioppo believed loneliness does the same job, but for people instead of food. That hollow ache is your ancient alarm system telling you that you have drifted too far from the group. And for your ancestors, drifting from the group was not sad. It was fatal. Picture the world they lived in. No walls, no stored food, no police, no hospital, no lock on the door. A single human alone on the ancient plains was a soft target for everything with teeth. Survival was not a solo act, it was a group project, every single day. So the ones who felt the ache, who felt that stab of isolation and hurried back to the fire, back to the tribe, back to warm bodies and watching eyes, those were the ones who lived. They ate the next morning. They had children. Those children inherited the ache. You are the descendant of the anxious ones, the ones who couldn't stand to be alone. Your loneliness is not weakness passed down. It is vigilance passed down. It kept your bloodline breathing for 100,000 years. Two other psychologists, Roy Baumeister and Mark Leary, gave this hunger a name. They called it the need to belong, and they argued it is not one desire among many. It is a fundamental human drive, as basic as the need for safety, wired into nearly everyone, in nearly every culture, in every era we can find. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If loneliness kept humans alive, why does it feel like it's quietly hurting so many people now? Here is the twist your ancestors never saw coming. The alarm still works perfectly. The world it was built for is gone. For nearly all of human history, the cure for loneliness was standing right next to you. You lived among the same 40 faces your whole life. You slept in a pile. You ate in a circle. You were rarely, if ever, truly alone, and the ache, when it came, had somewhere obvious to go. Now you live behind a door, in a room, in a building full of strangers whose names you will never learn. You can go a whole day speaking to no one and having no reason to. Your signal fires, right on schedule, ancient and loyal. But the fire it's trying to send you back to isn't there anymore. And there is a cruel loop hidden inside it. Cacioppo found that loneliness, left alone, does not simply sit still. It distorts you. It puts your brain on high alert for threat, and it starts reading faces as colder than they are, rooms as less welcoming than they are, invitations as less sincere than they are. The lonelier you feel, the more the world looks like it is rejecting you. So, you pull back, and pulling back makes you lonelier. The alarm meant to pull you toward people can, in the wrong world, quietly push you away from them. That is why it can feel impossible to fix from the inside. It isn't a character flaw. It's an old rescue system firing in a place it doesn't recognize. And modern life keeps handing that system counterfeits. A screen full of faces looks like a tribe. A stream of messages looks like a circle around a fire. Your ancient wiring reaches for them, the way it always has, and finds something that resembles connection but doesn't quite feed it. You can spend an evening watching 100 lives and end it hungrier than when you began. The signal was never asking for images of people. It was asking for people. And the stakes are not small. A researcher named Julianne Holt Lundstad gathered decades of data on human connection and how long people live. What she found was hard to dismiss. A lack of social connection raised the risk of early death to a degree that stood beside smoking and heavy drinking. Not as a metaphor, in the numbers. Your body treats long-term isolation as a slow physical emergency because to the machinery keeping you alive, that is precisely what it is. Loneliness is not just a feeling. It is your biology sounding an alarm. It has sounded for 1,000,000 years. The quiet tragedy is only that so many people have learned to sit inside the alarm and call it a personal failing. So what do you do with this? You stop treating the ache as proof that something is wrong with you. You start treating it as information. When loneliness comes, it is not telling you that you are unlovable. It is telling you the same thing it told a frightened human 10,000 years ago beside a dying fire. Go back. Find your people. You were not built to do this alone. The feeling is doing its job. It is pointing, the way it always has, toward other faces. The only thing that has changed is that now you have to walk toward them on purpose. Reach out first. Send the message. Sit in the circle, even when the old alarm whispers that you don't belong there. That whisper is 100,000 years old, and it is trying to save your life the only way it knows how. You are not more connected than any human who has ever lived. Not really. You are more surrounded and more alone than almost anyone who has ever lived, carrying an ancient ache that was only ever trying to lead you home.